Welcome. I hope you are having a wonderful night, dear viewer. Tonight, I will be telling some terrifyingly scary stories. Make sure to leave your feedback on the comments so I can make this the best experience for you. And if you have any stories you would like me to tell, you can send them through the link in the description. Let's begin. Story 1. One night, unable to sleep, I mindlessly scrolled through TikTok, hoping to find something that would distract me from my restlessness. Among the countless TikTok live streams, one particular stream caught my attention. The title simply read, "A Midnight Stroll." Intrigued, I tapped on it, unknowingly opening the door to a world of horror. The stream depicted a man silently traversing through a desolate forest. The eerie atmosphere was suffocating, with darkness seemingly swallowing the lone figure. To my utter shock, as the live stream continued, the man's path led him to a familiar place, my backyard. I couldn't believe my eyes. It was my house. How could this be possible? Fear gripped my heart, and I immediately dialed the emergency services, desperately hoping they could provide some answers. The police arrived swiftly, but to my dismay, they found nothing out of the ordinary in the woods. Without any concrete evidence or immediate danger, they dismissed my claims. I figured that this account would probably go live again, and when it does, I'll screen record and get some proof. It took some time, but eventually, the live stream resumed. Unfortunately for me this time, however, it did not reveal my house. Just hours of this man walking through the woods at night. Why are people even watching this? I thought to myself. The live stream that night was a bust. This man didn't do anything out of the ordinary. Besides, being a weirdo walking through the woods at night. I anxiously waited for the live stream to return. After 2 days, the account finally went live again. And this time, I was prepared. I started to screen record, determined to capture the proof I so desperately needed. The stream unfolded just as before. The mysterious man paced through the dark woods, his footsteps crunching unsuspecting leaves. The sound of crickets could be distinctly heard. The man emerged from the depths of the forest, his gaze fixed on my house. But this time, something was different. He started moving towards my house, step by step, drawing closer to me. The fear that had gripped me earlier escalated to sheer terror. I knew I had to take action. My fight. Or flight response activated, and I descended the stairs from my room, making my way to the kitchen window, never taking my eyes off the live stream. I peered into the darkness, searching for any signs of the man approaching my house, but to my horror, I saw nothing. I looked back down at my phone and then back up to the window and back down at my phone again. The man was continuing to walk towards my house in the live stream, but I didn't see him in real time. The realization struck me like a lightning bolt. The live stream had a delay. It had to have a stream delay. I watched him approach my back door on my phone. My mind raced as I frantically looked to the left and noticed my back door was ever so slightly cracked open. Story 2. So I used to work early morning shifts at a post office where I take in the morning parcels and letters and put them in private lockboxes. It was always pitch black when I started, and there were very few people out and about. Being an exhausted uni student, I was always pretty zonked out at 5:30 a.m., rocking up to work. On just another normal morning, I noticed an odd-looking man walking down the street as I was driving my car. As I turned to go down the street, my headlights hit the man and he turned and stared. But his stare felt so deep and searing, but empty, like he was a walking zombie. He just stared at me the whole turn and continued staring. As I looked in my rearview mirror, I took a bit of notice of it, but palmed it off and parked out at the front of the shop, which was only about 50 or so meters from where he was standing. As I did every morning, I whipped out my phone and hopped on Reddit to read news stories whilst waiting till just before my shift started. But the staring man irked me, and I looked up into the mirror, and he was now walking towards me. He just stared the whole time, and I couldn't look away. I turned my keys to have them ready to start my car and locked my door, and had half a thought I was being an idiot. But then he walked behind my car and came for the driver door. I immediately started the car and sped off down the street. I chucked a U-turn and waiting down about another 50 meters. I watched and waited while he stood there for a few minutes, just again staring down the street at me. Luckily, another ute came down the street and the man ran off towards the shop, down the walkway that led to a small suburban shopping center. I decide I need to go start my shift anyway and pull up to the right spot. The man in the ute who'd just driven down emptied some bin on the street and then motioned me to roll my window down. He said something along the lines of, "Hey mate, not sure if you just saw that guy standing here before, but keep an eye out." I thanked him and he drove off. I parked and walked into the shop, nervously doing the security pad and slammed the door shut. I sat there waiting for the van man to deliver the parcels. And after he came, I felt at ease again. I turned up my iPod and started sorting the mail, listening to some loud tunes. At 6:15-ish, as a song ended, I heard this tapping on the metal post boxes. It just kept tapping. I tried to peer over into the alcoves through the glass windows at the top, but couldn't see anyone. I assumed it was just another customer picking up mail. And I was sleep deprived and anxious. I grabbed some international mail forms that needed to be filed away at the shop front desk and walked out to the main area. And then there he was. The same man just standing, staring through the glass doors looking in. I know he saw me. I couldn't move until again. Something startled him and he ran off. I never saw him again, that I know of, but I can never forget that hair-tingling feeling of how his eyes stared when my car lights hit him. Story 3. Day, everyone. This is something that happened this past Friday while I was babysitting. For a little bit of context, I'm 20, 1F, a college student, and have been babysitting since I was 14. I'm not an expert on literally anything. However, over the years I have learned caution and resilience. At age 15, I took babysitting classes at our youth center, as well as a female self-defense course. So I babysit at least once a month for this one family. I like them because they pay me more than my usual hourly rate. They have a big house with internet that I can use to do homework, and the two kids are surprisingly well behaved and compliant. So the two parents have like a monthly ritual of going out around 5 p.m. and returning a little after 2 a.m. I'm always offered to sleep in the guest bedroom and stay until morning. I usually just stay awake and abuse their satellite TV and then leave when they come back. The house is in a nice neighborhood without a whole lot of neighbors. Very quiet. Also, their house is armed with an alarm system that I have the code to and can arm and disarm it through my phone. That'll be relevant in a little while. So I always take them for pizza at this place that has like an arcade. I do this so that they tire themselves out and go to bed early. Plus, the little girl that I babysit is also on a mission to win a family of stuffed animals from the prize store. So I'd be the world's worst babysitter if I didn't guide her in that pursuit. If anyone's maybe wondering for whatever reason, after Friday night, she only needs the daddy stuffed animal before her collection is complete. Go girl! Anywho, I'm rambling. I was sitting at a table and watching them play in a ball pit, while also texting on my phone. This couple came over and sat at the same table as me. It was a long table with parents scattered here and there, so this wasn't alarming. The couple looked normal enough. Both were probably in their mid-20s, possibly a little older. They talked to each other, but then the guy asked me, "Are you the one babysitting Dr. So?" And so's kids? So the parents of these children are both doctors, and the specific region that we live in. This would be common enough information, but I still chose to answer their question with an irrelevant statement. I wonder what they use to make the pizza here. Yeah, I know. I'm a master of deception. They started making weird comments. They talked about the kids' parents. They commented on the daughter and how they wondered if she would look as pretty as their mom. Okay, my dudes, I don't know if that was intended to be creepy, but I'm just going to be safe and pretend that it was. Then the woman says to me, and I quote, "Do they really let you dress like that while watching their kids?" She motioned with her eyes towards my t-shirt, which was admittedly a little tight, though aside from a little bit of a bosom crack, not revealing. I have a thin frame and a large chest. It's 90 degrees in my region of the US right now, so it's not like I can wear a hoodie, and my tits have a Crips and Bloods type relationship with any kind of shirt that has buttons. I saw that as my cue to go and get the kiddos and bring them to get their prizes so that we could bounce. After some very thought-provoking a philosophical debating, they both got their prizes, and we headed back over to the house. So fast-forward a few hours. Both kids were bathed and put to sleep. I delivered a heartwarming rendition of Goodnight Moon and read a very spooky chapter of The Werewolf of Fever Swamp and tucked them into dreamland. It was around 9 I was caught up on homework and was just watching TV when I heard some movement on the porch. I didn't think much of it at first, but the doorknob started rattling violently. I initially started moving towards the front door to see who it was. But miraculously, I remembered that it was late at night. I was home alone with 2 kids, and I very much wanted to live. I turned around to grab my purse, which is where I keep my taser. As I'm moving, the back door starts rattling as well and was accompanied by some banging noises. That's when I remembered that I hadn't enabled the alarm system after returning. Now, if this was a horror movie scenario, of course the alarm wouldn't have worked and the intruders would have made their way inside. I hate to disappoint if you were expecting something more exciting, but I enabled it again quite easily with no incident. I ran upstairs and grabbed the 2 kids. I put them in their parents' room in the walk-in closet. I still hate that I scared them. When I gathered them up, I gave no context as to what was going on. I didn't want to tell them that someone was trying to break into the house, but in the process, the fear of not knowing seemed to be worse. I instructed them to stay in there and stay quiet, and only to open the door if they hear me talking to them. I then locked the bedroom door, which is the only door on the upstairs floor that locks. I sat there with my taser out and hit panic button on the phone app. Several minutes went by. Then I got the notification through the app that the alarm system was disabled. I planned on calling 911, even though the panic button already took care of that, but I found it more beneficial to arm it back. Then it disarmed again, so I armed it again. Then it disarmed once again, so I armed it once again. By this time, I could hear what sounded like 2 sets of footsteps walking up the stairs. Good job, girl. You locked yourself inside with 2 potential assailants. I was holding it together for the sake of the kids, but not to deep inside. I was scared to death. When I heard the footsteps get near the door and saw the knob twisting, I took a deep breath and pulled the trigger on my taser, just to let them know that I was armed, though it realistically wouldn't do much good. I informed them through the door that the alarm was triggered and police were on their way. Thankfully, I was greeted by a familiar voice. My Ming, it's Doctor's name. I opened the door and ran into their arms and started sobbing. I hadn't realized truly until it was over just how scared I really was. The kids came out, without me giving them the okay, but their parents were there, so I'll let it slide. When I enabled the alarm on my phone, they both got the notification from the place they were at. With the app, you have the option to view the porch cameras as well. When they got the notification that the panic button was activated, they saw through the camera that there were people on each side of the house. 1 man, 1 woman. When the alarm kept disarming, that was them trying to get into the house. Police report was filed by them, and gave a statement mentioning the 2 weirdos I met earlier that day, even though there was really no evidence that would directly point to them. Camera footage didn't give any positive face hits either. So, yeah, I was scared. I'm getting over it now. I'm just grateful that the couple that I was babysitting for were close enough to make it to me. I hate to say it, but I find the police response timed to be terrible. I'm currently back in my own apartment an hour away. I checked in once to see how the kids were doing, and they're holding up fine. I'm just glad they had proper protection in their home and that this didn't end up to be any worse.